introduce you to Miss Patricia Mora McGinity. She is CEO in the Gestiona Ambiental, an environmental engineering company from Spain. Patricia, if you would agree to open your camera. Good morning, Patricia. Your camera is still closed. Maybe in the meantime, I can welcome also Miss Christine Bajohr. Good morning, Christine. You are a mountain farmer in the Allgäu in Bavaria, Germany, and you're a specialist in holistic management. And we have with us Geneviève Savigny. Good morning, Geneviève. You are a free-range chicken farmer in the Alps of southern France. Maybe you can also open your camera. That is possible. And finally, we have also Kylie Magner, who is a pastured egg producer in Moyglass, Ireland. I hope I didn't mispronounce your name too badly. Hi. Sorry for that.
Good morning.
So thank you being all of you being with us this morning. Unfortunately, we still don't have the cameras of Patricia and Geneviève. Maybe in the meantime, I would ask, start with you, Kylie. What is actually the motivation why you invest in soil? That's why we invited you. And what are the challenges that you meet as a farmer in this topic of soil?
Well, I think the points that Pandy made, that soil is basically the basis for everything. So for us, it's really about our own environment. So increasing the profitability of our farm, through soil health. So I think that's very important for us. Because we do pastured egg production, our hens move across the pasture every day. So for us, it's really about increasing the nutritional value of the food that we produce. So by including ruminants, cattle, sheep, and goats into that mix, we feel that we're really building biodiversity and increasing the nutritional value of our end product. And I guess the other point that Pandy made was, farmers have to be financial. So for us, that's almost a unique selling point that we can say our products, and hopefully we're going to learn about measuring that nutrition through the soil health. But for us, that's a unique selling point that we can actually grab hold of. So apart from the environmental aspects, it's really an economic one as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Do you see any connection to what Kylie just said, Christine? You are in a very different situation with mountain farming. What is your actual connection to this soil question?
Well, first of all, when we talk about soil health, we are actually acknowledging that the soil is a living system with living organisms. Otherwise, it couldn't be of good or bad health. Yet my understanding is that soil health is only possible in symbiosis with healthy plants. And both soil and plants need water and certain conditions to thrive, especially in a healthy community. So I would say that first and foremost, we are investing in a healthy system, which of course the soil is a very important part. And we need to do this because most grasslands, our land included, have been so poorly managed in recent decades or even centuries that we haven't seen the true potential of what an intact and interacting living system can do when managed according to nature's principles. In some areas of our land, we've already gotten first glimpses of what can be possible, quite impressive ones actually. So that's why we are very motivated to continue to improve our management, to see what else unfolds in the following years. But either way, the underlying motivation is that it's probably the only way for us to become more resilient to climate change and thus less dependent in general. And ultimately, I think this investment is our only chance to preserve our land and our planet for future generations. Last chance at all.
Last chance,
Yes.
indeed. Geneviève, can you hear us? Could you turn on your camera maybe again? Have a second try. Patricia, can you hear us? Apparently, we are facing a great technical challenge. In the meantime, to both of you, Kylie and Christine, if you look at your daily work, you have your own practice. Where do you get support from? What kind of aids do you get to go on in your research and your quests to better soils? And what kind of expertise can you call in for your quest for better soils? Christine?
Well, I know from our own.
Or Kylie, go on, please.
Sorry, Christine. I think from our own perspective, it's very hard to find a specific advisory that is actually really on the same page as we are. So it's very hard to find somebody who's kind of slanted not towards chemical but biological farming. And I think for us, a lot of the research is really done on your own. You know, it's getting onto the internet, listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos, what other people are doing, attending conferences, networking with other innovators. And so far, I mean, I know the directives of the Farm to Fork, they're very good, and they're very, brilliant for soil health, but actually implementing those ideas, I think a lot of it is actually, led by yourself, by researching yourself. So it would be great to have a bank that you could actually go to and just withdraw all that information.
How is it for you, Christine?
Well, our project KUHproKLIMA was developed because the many research approaches and also the results are unfortunately both often disconnected from the needs of us practitioners. I think on-farm research in real collaboration with us farmers is necessary to address the real problems we have to face out there. And we need this knowledge processed in an understandable form, concretized to the respective level of our actions. So we can find out for ourselves what works on our farms and what doesn't make sense. So standard recipes just don't work everywhere. Nature is too complex for that. So consultants or experts are very important, but usually they are focused on a limited field, which is by their experts. What farmers who want to regenerate their farm need now, in my opinion, are more experienced generalists who can mentor a farmer through the transition over a longer period of time. And yeah, as for funding, yes, most of the time there is financial support needed for the transition to a more regenerative way. But many farmers are so caught up in their systems that they don't have room to move, let alone breathe or even think of anything new. So I think what they need first and foremost is a new vision, an understanding, and then a new doable plan for a transition adapted to their respective location and the needs of the people living there. We recognized this in our project right at the beginning. That's why this has resulted in a side project with participants outside the project, in which we are currently developing a concept that is intended to address precisely these problems.
Very interesting. We still don't have Geneviève or Patricia.
So hello, I'm back. With the computer, great. I was completely lost, so I'm back
no
with the
problem. You're welcome in.
Telephone.
Very flexible and resilient. Thank you to joining us with the typically organic adaptation to change. Could you just shortly tell us what is your approach and what are your challenges facing this soil health in south of France?
Well, yes, it's very, very important issue. I want to make precise that but my companion has an arable farm, about 60 hectares of wheat and lavender, and also some fodder crops. He used to have sheep, but since now maybe, well, since 30 years now, he hasn't got any more sheep. So it's a mostly arable farm with some chicken. And we have realized that to have healthy food, it was important to have healthy production of wheat, especially, and that it was important for this to have an approach, a holistic approach of the farm, especially of the soil. But with dry land, well, the soil is not so bad, but it's very stony and slopey, and so we have limits to what we can do in terms of improving the soil quality. Do you want me to develop now, or?
Yeah, I think we will have other opportunities to go deeper. Maybe just a word, where do you get your support expertise from? How does it work in your situation? What is efficient for you as advisory, or where do you get your hints from?
Yes, yeah. Well, we have our own approach and all experience. I used to be a teacher at the very beginning of my career, and I would teach and analysis and so on, but it has changed a lot. And in practice, at that time, that's about 40 years ago, there were a lot of analysis of the soil and done by the Chamber of Agriculture, but now they are not tackling this issue so much, but different groups like the Association for Organic Farmer and another association for agroecology, and this is where it is possible to have more support. Although for the moment we are in a transition period. I think we've done for about 30 years, as I said, with my companion. We've been, I would say, normal medium farmers in the mountainous area, and now with our son, who's going to take over, I think the transition to organic farming is going to be far more precise and effective, and we'll get more support from the organic association, I would say. Yeah. Where we find the most relevant support.
Maybe I take the opportunity. Nice to have you, Patricia. Was it difficult for you as well? You, I think I understand, you're in a consultant organization. You act as an advisor. I hope you heard anyway the outspeak of Christine, Kylie, and Geneviève, the lack of support. What is your approach as a advisory organization, private, all the more, to support farmers in this challenge?
Well, thank you first of all for having me here. It was I was lost for a minute, so I had about 5 minutes there. But thanks to Andres and Theus for bringing me back to the panel. Okay, yes, we are an environmental advisor. We work with in the south of Spain, and we are especially now interested in working with the limits really of livestock, extensive livestock, taking into account the climate change adaptation systems. And I haven't actually managed to hear the panelists which have been talking before, but as you already explained, yes, definitely advisors is something which is mostly necessary, very much necessary for farmers. We are working very, very close to farmers, and we are learning so much about what's needed. And one of the things that we find in some of our projects is that the need for training is felt so much. We have this project in our project, a live project called LiveAdapt. We just recently released some, well, actually my partners over here, Pedro Mari, he's been working with the courses, and we expected to have, these are courses addressed to farmers for adaptation to climate change, specific good practices with soil, but also with water, pasture and cattle, obviously. And we expected to have about, I don't know, maybe 20, 25 farmers for each course, and we've having 80. And we haven't really done much of you know, we haven't really moved it around too much. So we obviously, there's such a need for good information flow and good, yeah, it's definitely a demand, and it's something which I'm so happy that we're working on over here in the EIP-AGRI. And obviously not only soils, but soils is definitely a very unknown sector sphere. It's something which is very unknown to the farmers usually. Well, maybe to everybody, but definitely to the farmers, which they need to work with. So I think it's there's loads to do, basically. There's loads to do, and I'm open to everything that's moving around over here today. So hopefully we'll be managing to talk soon, I hope.
Great, great. Thank you. I think we should move on. Thank you. We have a good glimpse into reality and how important this soil question is and the different challenges we have. I would like to give the opportunity to participants to bring in some questions together with Iri again. Iri, if you would like to join us and bring in some questions from the participants in the chat. Have you heard something or read something that can bring us?
Yep. Christine, question to Christine from Stefan. What is the difference between soil health, soil quality, and soil properties? Mostly people just use quite basic soil properties to measure soil health. So what is it really? What is it really?
Christine, do you have a fancy answer for that?
Well, I'm only a farmer. I don't divide soil into different properties or things. For me, soil is a living system now, and I treat soil now like I do treat my cows. And if they are thriving and healthy, everything else is good, and the structure is good, and they can do their work, and yeah, and it's the same thing with soil. It's always the same thing. So
thank you. To look at the problem as a whole,
yes,
as holistic says.
You have to.
Yeah, thank you. Another question, Edie?
There aren't much more questions at the moment, but I invite all participants to leave their questions still in chat and referring to which panelists they are addressed to, so they can be answered later as well.
Yeah, great. As you can see, it gives more interaction. Is there maybe a final word to this practitioners you would like to share? I see Geneviève, you're trying to say something additional?
Yes, in fact, it was difficult with technical problems, but we wanted to say that we had to allow more nature to grow in our fields with more grass growing, and so it brings more organic matter. But then the problem will be to control weeds. And for this, we've developed a way to hoe with lavender nearer to the stump, so with a special device that my husband made, and this is how we have to develop solutions really on the farm to be able to bring more life in the soil, to allow more life in the soil, but still having a crop and decent economic conditions. So it's a whole approach of growth and
innovation, of new approaches and new ideas to solve technical aspects. And
exactly. Sometimes it's a low-tech approach, but very efficient.
Great. We'll be very happy to have you all and all your experience together today.